Well, it's a beautiful rainy Sunday here in Chicago. Got 2 more days until the Model 3 gets here. Still super excited about it, still not sleeping well, but that's all right. It got me kind of reminiscing last night. I kind of maybe got a little carried away. I went back through all the cars I've ever owned, just kind of comparing them in my head. And then I started looking up old photos of them, seeing what I could find, then looking up internet photos. So I put together and compiled a list of all of them. So up till this point, it's been 24 different cars I've owned, mixed in there, 3 motorcycles, a couple of boats, stuff like that. So anyway, I'm gonna go through the whole list, but it might take a little while. I don't know how long it's gonna take, but there's little stories about each car, some of them not so much because I didn't own them for that long. Other ones, I don't know. I've got some favorites out there. I will cut to the choice and just give you my top 3 favorites in case you don't want to sit through the whole thing. But I'll probably spend a couple minutes on every car, just kind of running through it. And then last, just to wrap it up, just a little picture of the Model 3. Can't wait. It's coming soon. All right. Without further ado, my top 3. It's kind of a janky video setup. I just have my phone sitting on a little tripod in front of the computer. I figured this is the easiest and quickest way to do it, so that's all right. Anyway, so number 3, I love this car. Probably the best one, the Honda S2000. I had a year 2000 Honda S2000. I'll tell you more about that in a few minutes, but man, that was an amazing car. My second favorite car is the car that I just sold a couple weeks ago. That was a 2015 BMW 428i xDrive Grand Coupe with the M Sport package. So basically it had the M Sport trim on it, but not the M engine. So a little bit slower, but that's all right. I didn't need to get going too fast in the city. The computer on it showed my average miles per hour were only 13.9 anyway. So not a big deal there, but man, that is a great, great car. And then my third favorite car, this thing was insane, but it was a 1993 Mazda RX-7 twin turbo. Got a couple little stories on that car, but man, that was wickedly fast, wickedly cool, and just super, super fun car to drive. Anyway, so those are the top 3. And don't feel like you gotta stick around for the rest of this, but I'm gonna go through the rest of the cars now. It might get interesting, it might not, so totally up to you guys. This was my very first car ever. So it was a 1979 VW Rabbit, and it was one of those used cars you find on the gas station parking lot. So it had a sticker in the window, $995. I was 17 years old, so I got this one back in 1988. My parents paid for it. They coughed up the 995 bucks. It was like 49,000 miles on it or something. So for a 9-year-old car, that was pretty darn good. What I found out later when I went to resell it in another 2 years was that the odometer had actually rolled over. Back then there were only 5 digits on the odometer, and I guess when I purchased it, it really had $149,000. So I definitely lost money when I resold it. The other fun thing about this car was when I bought it, it was this baby blue color with kind of a baby blue interior. And I did cool stuff like added some stereo equipment and made it, pretty cool inside. And it didn't look so cool on the outside. So my parents actually let me spray paint this thing. And it turned out to be a dark metallic blue like that. I used 15 cans of this spray paint that I bought at the auto parts store and painted it without a mask on. So that was not a good idea. I don't know if it affected my adult life at all, but it couldn't have helped at all. Anyway, that was a fun car. It was really fun to drive. While I owned that car in high school, my parents were great. They let me spend my own money on another car that I saw driving down the street, and I made an offer to this guy. He said he wouldn't sell me his, but his daughter was selling one, and that was a 1964 Volkswagen Carmen Ghia. Man, I couldn't pass this car up. I got it for 600 bucks. Mine was a little more rusty than this, but I started doing my first actual car mod. So I was reading magazines, VW Trends and Hot VW. So they gave me a lot of inspiration. I did things like cut out the back wheel wells, put wheel adapters on, put oversized mag wheels with bigger tires on it. I took the back bumper off and front bumper and put those California style Nerf bars on it. What else? Oh, I pulled off the back hood. The engine's in the back on this car, and I cut a big hole in it, and I fiberglassed a sunken in license plate frame. So that was pretty crazy. I don't know what I was thinking. I was in high school. I didn't know how to do this stuff. I was just kind of figuring it out. There was no YouTube, no DIY instructions. It was just kind of, hey, these guys did it in a magazine. Why can't I do that? So my dad helped me along with that project toward the end because I really got burnt out. I was way in over my head on this thing. But it did come out really nice. I ended up selling it to some kid that lived in Bloomington that probably read the same magazines, and he really liked the car, so sold it to him, kind of moved on. So this came next. Pretty sad. A 1979 Dodge Aspen. Mine wasn't in quite this bad a shape, but it was pretty darn close. I at least had hubcaps on mine, but I did have a lot of primer marks and stuff like that from where I had to remove rust from it. I bought this car off my dad's buddy. I paid $100 for it. It had new tires and a new battery, so I think that was worth it. I drove this car for, God, I was in college when I had this car, so man, I drove it for a couple years. During the time I owned this car, I had 0 dates. I had 0 social life. I fully blame the car. It was kind of a nasty car. It had a nickname. Mine was the same color as this one. We called it the Adobe. So, and that was the license plate on it. It was Adobe 79. I do not miss that car at all. I got rid of it because I drove it across a creek really fast and the cold water splashed up on that inline 6 engine and seized the whole thing up. It was game over at that point. I'd have it towed home. I was kind of looking out for newer cars anyway. I had saved some money up. My mom co-signed on a loan for me. And the next car that I ended up getting, this was my first nice car. Very cool. It's a 1986 Honda CRX, and it was the DX model. This car was great. It had kind of louvers on that back window. Those were really cool, I thought. This car was awesome. I liked these cars when they were brand new. I think I got it like, I might have been 5 years old when I got it or something. But man, that was a really cool, super fun, quick car to drive. Absolutely loved it. While I had this car, I picked up my first motorcycle. That was a 1980 Yamaha Special 2 400. Within about 10 minutes of owning that motorcycle, it was pristine, by the way. I mean, just beautiful condition. And within the first 10 minutes, I dropped it and kind of screwed it up. Bent the handlebars, put a dent in the tank, and that should have been just a key note right there in my life that I just shouldn't own motorcycles. But I ended up getting 2 more bikes down the road. Anyway, drove the CRX for a while, lived down in Orlando, Florida. About that time, I mean, these trucks were really cool. So I got a 1990 Toyota pickup truck. The one I had was 2-wheel drive and it wasn't lifted, but it did have the oversized wheels and tires on it. So kind of similar look to this, but a little bit lower. I would drive to the beach, put the boogie boards in the back, couple chairs, go out to Cocoa Beach, spend the day there. Pretty cool truck. It was really fun, unless you had anything of any weight in the back of it, or, you know, an extra person in the front of it, stuff like that. The oversized wheels and tires tended to rub a bit. I did buy a lift kit to put on it, which I never put on it. I just decided, hey, I just need to get rid of this truck. It's not that great. It did have, however, have a subwoofer system in it that sounded amazing, which was actually probably way too big for that cab, but yeah, it was fine. It all worked. The next car I got, this is also kind of a favorite car, and this is a really cool car at the time. It was a 1992 Eagle Talon TSI. So this car was cool because it was the first turbo car I'd ever owned. and it had leather interior, it had power everything. It had these crazy seat belts right there, you can see that one hang. So you would sit in the seat and then it would motorize, go back and kind of keep you safe in the car. But this car was really fast. I liked it a lot. I liked driving it. It got some looks, you know, I don't know, just a really cool car to have and own. I had that for a couple years, and then little things started going wrong with it, like the windows would go off the track, and you know, maybe a little bit of rust was starting to form on it, stuff like that. And I want something that might be a little bit more fun. I just got a dog, so I wanted something I could take the dog in. This is not a great car for that. So I got a Jeep Wrangler Renegade. This is a 93 Jeep Wrangler Renegade with the square headlights. I had a soft top and a hard top on it. It was really cool, really fun. Took it off-roading a few times. These things can climb like crazy, so I had a blast in this. The big issue I had with it was an all-black Jeep. It did have a gray interior, if I recall. But there was no air conditioning. So in the summertime, you basically had to have the top off of that, otherwise you were roasting inside. Super cool car though. I still like the way these looks. They're utilitarian and just, they're cool. I would own one of those again, I think. So while I had the Jeep, I did end up getting another motorcycle too. It was a Suzuki Bandit 600, so that was a pretty cool motorcycle. Oh man, I just remembered another motorcycle I had too. It was a, what was that? Kawasaki Ninja 500. Man, I forgot all about that one. So I guess scratch that, it was 4 motorcycles instead of 3. Most boring car I ever owned came next. So I don't know, after the Turbo Eagle Talon, couple motorcycles, this Jeep, why did I get this? It was a 4-door Honda Civic LX, 1998. I bought it brand new. Most boring, nondescript, soulless car ever. Like, I didn't even have any desire to put any mods on it. I just left it stock. And it was just a really boring car to drive. I don't know. I definitely would not buy that one again. Right after that one, I got a Honda Civic hatchback. So I kind of stepped back a little bit. This one was a little bit older. But I guess after having the kind of lame stripped down Honda, I wanted an SI. I always liked the way these look. They're super fun to drive, super quick. They rev up really well. They handle corners really well. They sit low. It had the hatchback. I've always been a sucker for kind of the hot hatch look. These were really cool, fun cars to drive. And my buddy Chuck Sharif also had a Honda Civic SI. So he had a red one. So we kind of race them around together and stuff. So those were really cool. And then I guess I started reminiscing about these Hondas again. Whoop, shoot, I skipped. Yeah, so I ended up with a couple other ones. Sorry, I went out of order a little bit there. I got another CRX, and that was an 85 CRX. I picked that up for a couple $100, drove it around in the winter. I flipped it really quick, made a couple $100 on it. And then the other one was this 1990, I think it was a 90. No, maybe that was an 88 Honda Civic hatchback. So it was a newer style Civic hatchback. This one was pretty stripped down too. I got it cheap. It was like $600, and I sold it to my brother for what I paid for it. He tinted the windows and made it cooler and stuff like that. So I guess after having these older Hondas, I got really just super excited when this brand new Honda came out. They announced they were reintroducing the Honda Civic Si, and this was in 1999. So I bought one of these brand new from the dealership. It was one of those deals where they didn't make that many of them. There was high demand for them, or at least they told me, and I pretty much just paid list for it. I really like that car a lot. That was probably the first one that I did significant mods to, especially with it being a brand new car. So it did like the cold air intake. I drilled the bottom and put, I guess, beefed up sway bars on it. I put the adjustable coilovers on it. So this car could handle, like, it was unbelievable. Strut tower brace, what else did I do? A short shift kit. all that stuff to make it handle better. I didn't do much with the engine except for that cold air intake. I didn't really want to mess with the warranty and stuff there since it was brand new. Oh, I did a catback exhaust on that one too. So it sounded good, cornered great, super, super fun car to drive. Sold that to another car enthusiast. He really loved it, and he kept that car for, I don't know, another 8 years or something after he bought it. I would hear from him from time to time. So that was a pretty good one. I felt good about selling it to that guy. So during this time, I got a boat. I needed something to tow the boat with. So I got this 1996 Toyota 4Runner. It actually happened to be owned by a girl I went to high school with when I answered the Auto Trader ad. So that was super cool. They gave me a great deal on it. The boat I had was from 1996 and the Toyota was from 1996. So I thought that was kind of an interesting coincidence. But this thing was great, especially with the dog. I could put the window down in the back, the tailgate down. She could just jump right in. Seats went down the back. You could haul a lot of stuff in it. It was really good off-road. So this is a fun car. I really like these a lot. I kind of like just driving around with the sunroof open and that back gate down, or the back window gate down. Man, that was a pretty cool car. I'd get one of those again. I like the newer 4Runners too. I don't know. The next two cars, these both are kind of funny. This Audi A4 I picked up. It was an eBay auction that I, in air quotes, won. And it was down in Houston, Texas, allegedly, you know, non-smoker car, had all the options on it I was looking for. I flew down to get it. Like right when I get inside, there's a cigarette hole burn in the carpet. So they knocked some money off and, you know, fixed it up a little bit. I got it pretty cheap. So I was like, I can always just turn around and resell this thing. So I drove it straight through from Houston all the way back up to Peoria. And I was like, you know, putting new fuses in it on the way. Like I was actually fixing the car up as I was driving it. I got rid of it the next spring because in the winter it spun out on some ice and the back wheels hit a curb and it really screwed up the all-wheel drive system. So I had to get that fixed, and by that point I was pretty sick of it. This next car down there on the lower right, this was an 89 Nissan Maxima, and it was a 4DSC, so it was like four-door sports car. So they were kind of marketing it as. I always thought they were cool looking cars. This one had a blown engine. I got for a couple $100. Everything else about it was really, really good. It was in great shape. Everything, the body, the interior, everything was great. It just had a blown engine. So I was like, oh yeah, people just swap engines out all the time. What I didn't realize was this generation of it, it was a pretty specific engine for it, and they were just really hard to find. So I was calling junkyards all over, just trying to find one. Never could. I sold it to a Toyota tech for the same amount of money I paid for it. I think he got it running at some point. I don't know. That car was a bitter disappointment. I did have a cop help me push it from the tow truck up into my driveway. That was pretty fun. Anyway, oh man, this thing. This was a 1998 Dodge Ram, another car that I think I won an auction on. So I had to go to Grand Rapids, Michigan to get this. Took a couple buddies with me. We just kind of road tripped. The best part about this was probably the drive back, and we stopped at Bell's Brewery in Kalamazoo and had a beer on the way home. That was pretty fun. This truck, I don't know. It's bittersweet. I bought it because I was rehabbing some properties at the time, and I just needed an okay truck to haul stuff around in. And this was an okay truck. Once when we were driving back from a camping trip, the catalytic converter imploded on it, and we couldn't get it to go over like 20 miles an hour on the highway, and the engine kept overheating. Like, it was terrible. We were those jerks having the emergency flashers on, just driving super slow on the side of the highway. It was excruciating. You couldn't run the AC because the engine would overheat. That was brutal. I ended up trading that or trying to trade it eventually. The dealer didn't even want it when I took it in, so I just had to sell it on Craigslist or Auto Trader or something. This thing is amazing. So this is the 1993 Mazda RX-7 twin turbo. I started seeking one of these out after two things. One, Dom drove one in Fast and the Furious, I think it was Too Fast, Too Furious. That car like really caught my eye in that movie, and then driving it in Gran Turismo was amazing. So that was always my go-to car in Gran Turismo. So it made me want one really bad. So I started searching for them, and I found this one in Lafayette, Indiana. So I kind of road tripped out there. I had never even driven one of these before except in the video game. So I just got in it, took the thing around the block, loved it, everything I expected from it. Gave the guy some cash for it and drove it home. That car, still to this day, like my heart races a little bit when I think about it. I overboosted this one a little bit, so it's kind of a sequential twin turbo turbocharger system, and you could put these little pills in there in the vacuum lines to allow more boost. So I think I probably had this car around 400 horsepower or so. It's a super light car, super low, handles great. We did even take it out in the winter one time and did some donuts in it. It's just an unbelievably fun car to drive. It did have like interior issues, lots of squeaks and rattles and stuff like that. And you just hear all the plastic moving around, but the engine more than made up for it. Oh yeah, and it's that rotary engine. So it sounded cool, it looked cool. It just burnt a lot of oil. That's my only gripe with it. It was just scary fast. So while I owned the RX-7, I was thinking about convertibles, and I almost got a Miata. Really glad I didn't. The Honda S2000, oh man, I love these things. Ever since they first got announced, this is exactly the way mine looked. It had the red leather interior, silver exterior. This car was just a dream to drive. So I was seeking this car out too. I found this one up in Ann Arbor, Michigan. The guy that owned it bought it and just put it in his garage. And then he was getting married. He had to pay for the wedding. So he decided to sell it. So I bought his in 2002. So the car was 2 years old. It had 600 miles on it when I bought it. In this particular car, its VIN number was number 245. So it was number 245 off the line, and these were hand-built cars by Honda, and you could tell just like all the fit and finish on them was really amazing. The engine was incredible, super high revving, handled amazingly well. I dearly miss this car to this day, and every time I see a Honda S2000 out there, I still turns my head. I want to check it out. Most of them now are modded and pretty ratty looking, but every now and then I'll see a pristine example of it, and it just makes me want that car again. So maybe someday I'll get another one. I don't know. Next up, I bought this massive pickup truck. This is actually a picture of mine. So this is my, what year was that? 2005 Nissan Titan. So I had the giant V8 in it, and I put this extra exhaust on it. It was loud and obnoxious, but super cool pickup truck. It was me and my buddy Tim. Our plan was to go into the dealership because he wanted the same truck, and I think he pulled the trigger the day before me. We're gonna originally go in and just say, hey, we want 2 of these, give us your best deal. I think he went in a day before me and got his. He got an all black one, and then I got this gray with the anthracite wheels on it, and maybe I got for like $200 less than him or something. So I feel like I did a little bit better job negotiating. But that truck was really cool. I actually moved up Chicago with this truck, and pretty quick after I moved up here, somebody stole stuff I had locked in the bed of it. And then I had the full-size spare, looked just like these, up underneath. Somebody stole that. And then I was going through an alley and turned right too fast and like scraped up the whole back side of the car. It was just not a good city truck. And these things are really a bear to parallel park too, especially when you got the tow hitch on the back and all that stuff. You don't want to mess up the car behind you. But it probably kept other people from hitting the back of my car. I don't know. That was a cool truck. Sold it to my buddy Brent. He drove it for a lot of years after that, and then eventually got rid of it. The only problem with this thing is you got maybe 6 or 7 miles to a gallon in the city. This thing was just brutal for stop and go driving. So I got rid of that truck and I got a Volvo. It was a 2004 Volvo S60. Really like this car too. Kind of classy looking. The interior was super nice, all black leather, very comfortable drive. The only issue I had with this was the turning radius on it is so wide. So I would get in these tight city parking lots and just, it's like a multi-point turn just to get out of them. So I kept this for a couple years and then I eventually sold it to my girlfriend's dad, and he's still driving it to this day. And every time I see him, we always talk about the Volvo and how great of a car it is. And I mean, this thing will probably go 200,000 miles. So I sold it to him cheap. He got a great deal on it. So I hope he just keeps driving it. This is the worst car I've ever owned. I hate to say that, but kind of a funny story behind it. So this is a 2008 Smart 4.2, and my girlfriend Renee, she's down there hugging it. She actually loves this car. We got the announcement that these were coming to the US, and I think we went out and had some drinks one night, came home, got a little overzealous on our pre-order, and we ordered every option you could get except for the gauge package. So it had heated cloth seats, convertible, this little silver stripe cost extra money. So when we went to pick it up, the salesman goes, well, this is the second most expensive smart car we've ever sold. And that does not make you feel great when you're paying full retail for something. My plan was we get this, you know, drive it around for the summer and then resell it. And these were in pretty short supply, so they were reselling for a premium at that point. So I'm like, oh, worst case, we'll just get our money back out of it. We ended up keeping it for a few years. I mean, this thing was what, maybe 71 horsepower, 0 to 60 in 13, 14 seconds. The engine was the size of a sewing machine. Benefit of it was I could change the oil. It took 3 quarts of oil and I could just reach up underneath, unscrew the filter by hand, put new oil in, and that's that. It saved you like $200 from having the Mercedes dealer do it. So that was good. You drive it on the highway. I think I had this thing up to like 85 miles an hour once. Scariest ride of my life. Anyway, so smart car, bittersweet. Renee loved it. Sorry, Renee, had to sell it. And then once we sold that, actually we traded it, and that's when she got her 2012 Lexus IS250. So she still has that one. So I went from really driving the Volvo to co-owning this Smart 4.2 with Renee. And then I did my first lease ever. I really needed a car. I liked these Infinities. I always liked the G35 when it first came out. This is a G37S that I ended up with. It was a 2011, had all-wheel drive, super fast, super comfortable. I had a weird transmission thing though, like it downshifted oddly in second gear. I knew that was kind of maybe a warranty thing, but it was under a lease, so I didn't really care. So I just drove it for 3 years and then I turned it in when I was done. Actually, I think it was 2.5 years. I got an early turn in on it and I ended up getting this. This was the upgrade. This would be a 2014 Infiniti Q50. It also had all-wheel drive. It was silver. I really liked the silver. I'd never had a silver car before. Also a great car. It just didn't have a lot of soul to it, you know, it was missing something. Part of that I think was because I was leasing it, and this happened with the last one too. Like I really liked the car, but I never felt like I really owned the car. So it wasn't like it was mine. I didn't do any additional mods to it, just left everything stock, and it was fine. It was a good car to drive around. People liked it, I liked it. It was fast, that's for sure. Did guzzle some gas though. So from that car, once I turned that lease in, I started really, I'd always wanted a BMW. So that was my next one up, and also on my favorites top pick car list. It was kind of funny. This was a 2015 BMW, and this is the Grand Coupe. I had a 428i with the M Sport package. So kind of the M Sport package, it gives you the cooler wheels, you know, the cooler front spoiler, better steering wheel, the sports seats, stuff like that. And it had the cold weather package, technology package. It had like every option you could get, the heads-up display. It was just a super, super cool car. What was fun about this car was I went with my dad to go buy it. So it was at a dealership down in Peoria. I found 2 of these. This was the exact package I wanted on it. There was one in Denver and coincidentally one in Peoria. And I was gonna fly out to Denver and get the other one, but it ended up selling in 2 days. So I road trip down to Peoria. My dad went with me to the dealership. He helped me haggle, so it was fun. We went out for the test drive and ended up picking that one up. So always fond memories in this car. I kept it for 3.5 years. So I've gone through a lot of cars so far. 3.5 years is a really, really long time for me to have a car, just a single car like this. I just love driving it. It handles so well, that 50-50 weight distribution. BMW knows what the hell they're doing. Like, these cars are amazing. I went to that BMW Ultimate Driving Experience and got to flog a couple of them around a track. Like, they're just unbelievable machines. I really respect BMW a lot. So this one I just sold 2 weeks ago to a guy that lives out in the suburbs. I know he's gonna baby it just like I did. This is an actual picture of it I took a couple weeks ago when I put it up for sale. So it's pristine. I just really, really love this car. So the only thing that excites me more at this point is this little baby. So comes Tuesday, don't have a name for her yet. It is a she. So I know that for sure, but pearl white, performance package Model 3, with the black interior. So God, super pumped. 2 days to go, 2 days, people. Yeah, so I'll post more videos after I get it. Hey, if you stuck through this far, I'm really happy. It's been 30 minutes of me just talking straight about cars. That's ridiculous. But I just want to kind of reminisce. I did this more for me, but I hope someone else out there enjoyed it too. All right, I will talk to you soon. Thanks.